And yeah, we are live. Hello. Welcome to Comics and Variety, Indie Comic Stream number 19. I am Doc Hog. I am joined tonight by Eric, I'm going to try to pronounce this right, Ninaltowski.
Dude, you nailed it. Good job.
Oh my God, it's a miracle. But yeah, we're going to also have Eric Weathers with us shortly. He'll be talking about Battle Brick Road. Eric Ninaltowski here will be talking about Shadow Sentry in just a moment. But first, I just want Eric to tell us just briefly a little bit about himself and why he got into comics in the first place.
Cool, sounds good. I've been a published professional for about 13 years. Got into comics when I was in elementary school, just loved it, just started drawing, and the rest is history. Just went to art college, and then I just knew I wanted to do comic books. So.
What professional I should say professional outside of indie comics have you been involved in?
They've all been indie, actually.
Okay.
My first gig was Hand of the Morning Star. It was like a big Manga America series, and then I did Monomyth with Awesome Comics and a Samson book. So yeah, everything's been indie to this point. So I've done like sketch cards for Marvel and DC, but nothing, no comics.
All right. Okay. Also on the show today, we're also going to take a look at Anita Sarkeesian's second YouTube video on Legos. I took a look with Stephen Koch at the first one. It's been a little over 2 weeks now. I do apologize to all my channel subscribers for not having posted much recently. Oh shoot, what the heck happened there? Because now it's saying that that's weird. Okay, hang on just a second here. I want to check it's now saying that we're live, and we should have been live about 2 minutes ago. So let me check just to see what happened here.
I see 2 minutes and 20 seconds on mine. All
righty. Well, let me. Okay, nothing to worry about. Wonderful. That's just StreamYard being StreamYard, and. Okay, yeah, we're going to take a look at that Anita Sarkeesian video. But first, let's take a quick look at this, and I think we'll just have a very brief discussion. Where I want to go with this is why I think the future for indie comics, and especially indie comics that follow Comicsgate principles, is quite bright. And this is the reason. Walmart to stop selling All Lives Matter merchandise. Walmart will stop selling merchandise that says All Lives Matter, a phrase often used in opposition to the Black Lives Matter movement. The largest retailer said it will be indefinitely halting the sales of such products after hearing from customers and employees about the intent behind the All Lives Matter slogan on Tuesday, according to CBS News. We will continue to sell other variations, including Blue Lives Matter, a Walmart spokesperson said. We fundamentally believe all lives do matter and every individual deserves respect. However, as we listen, we came to understand that some, but not all people using the phrase all lives matter in the current environment intentionally minimize the focus on the painful reality of racial inequity. I mean, there's a lot, Eric, there's a lot that you could say about that. Whether or not, there seems to be this thing lately that everybody who's actually any public figure that's criticized Black Lives Matter has been almost instantly tagged as racist. That Black Lives Matter somehow encompasses everything wonderful about race or racial equality, and therefore to criticize them as just automatically racist, right?
Right. Yep.
But actually, what I will take from this is that I think this is why Comicsgate and indie comics are going to be quite good for some time to come, because Walmart is not exactly the wokest company out there. I mean, it's not what I'd call anti-woke, but they still sell guns, they still sell ammunition. But so if Walmart's going a little semi-woke here, you got to imagine right about this time what's going through the executives and the editors and so forth who run Marvel and DC Comics.
Right.
Because they're already pretty woke. So I think, as I was saying to you, just prior to the show, I think they're going to let people like G. Willow Wilson. They're going to let her write Iron Man and Spider-Man, and let Gail Simone and others have shots at major titles like Batman. And we know the quality of the comics that they. To be fair to Gail Simone, she actually wrote some good stuff early in her career, and her recent one, 7 Days, has been pretty good. But she's also written a lot of woke garbage. So, but the point being is that their quality has not been particularly good in recent years. And I think now that I'm guessing they're going to go even further woke, just means that, I think that, our campaigns are going to be quite good for some, for indie comics for a while to come. Hello, Guy from Red Bank. How are you? So what are your thoughts, Eric?
I agree, and I hope you're right. I mean, that would be great for us. But as the saying goes, man, go woke, go broke. And we've already seen Marvel and DC, their sales going down. And if they just continue on the same course, it's going to be great for us. So hopefully they do. And more fans are going to be looking for other alternatives, and hopefully they'll turn to Comicsgate. That would be awesome.
All righty. Let me, speaking of campaigns, let me mention very quick here. Just share the entire screen. And we will first, I have my own comic right now, Tilt, which is still in demand. Limited number of the options, with the exception of the PDF option, of course, which is theoretically unlimited. So get those soon. I ship those now very, very quickly. In fact, as of today, all of my domestic orders have been shipped, and I am nearing the end of my international orders. Had a couple of hiccups with the international one, simply because this is the first time I've ever shipped this many things internationally, and there were a few things to learn that I did not know. But at any rate, also, like I said, Eric Weathers will be with us to talk about his campaign for Battle Brick Road, which has 7 days left and is doing incredibly well. And then we have Eric Ninaltowski's Shadow Sentry Book 1, Into the Line of the Eternal. And Eric, why don't you just start telling us about this? Do you want me to just maneuver the screen here, or do you have something you'd like to share, and you can talk about it that way?
Yeah, I could share my screen. I'm on the Indiegogo page, and I'll talk about it.
All righty. Why don't you here? I'll drop my screen out, and you can share yours. And
cool. Is that working?
There we go.
Awesome. Yeah. So this is my baby. This is Shadow Sentry. It's born out of my love for, like the X books, superhero team books. That's what got me into comics.
Hold on a second. Shame on you, Guy from Red Bank. Reading Tilt should take priority over everything. Even if you've got a heart attack and you need to go to the hospital, you need to read Tilt first. Okay, you may continue, Eric.
No worries. Yeah, man. So this is just like, putting all the stuff that I love, that I grew up with, favorite movies, like The Matrix, things like that, into one book. And so Shadow Sentry, Into the Eternal, and it has like a supernatural twist. So
hi, Eric.
Hello.
Hey, what's up, Weathers?
Welcome.
How you doing, man?
Good. So yeah, so it's a superhero team book, but it's not exactly like the X-Men where they're born mutants. This is the worst of the worst and the best of the best. Heaven versus hell. There's demons, and it gets into just that these are characters that have been around for centuries, and you have these werewolves and vampires, and they've grown out of basically these hellborn who have been on planet Earth for longer than we knew. And so yeah, so it's going to be an awesome ride. I'm halfway done with the book. Got some awesome covers by Matthew Weldon, Kevin Sharp.
Those are really nice.
Yeah. Got a great colorist, two colorists actually, Kid Icarus and Carbon Graphics, who did these covers here. And then I got this awesome letterer. His name is Eric Weathers, who's going to do his best 90s style lettering on the book. So I'm excited for that. And yeah, So it's my love letter to the 90s and to all that stuff I grew up with. And I hope you guys will check it out. And right now we're almost to the 19K mark, which is awesome. And it'll be in demand for probably another few months while I'm, wrapping up the book and getting that done.
What is tell us just briefly about your main character.
Sure. So the main character, here we go. Boom, boom, boom. Let me find him. He's on my cover. So the main character is actually this kid, Jason. He's a teenager, almost to adulthood. But basically, he is a child of a hellborn and a highborn. So this is kind of, like I mentioned, these forces have been at work for centuries. But now we're kind of getting to this point where we have this kid come on the scene who's got these, these what they think is going to be incredible powers because no one's ever had, a child from a hellborn and a highborn before. So they're like, okay, this kid he's either going to save the world or he's going to be the one to destroy it. So they're both, both forces, obviously heaven and hell, are trying to get their hands on him and use them in their war against the other side.
All righty. Anything else we should know about your comic?
I think I covered it all.
Okay.
If anybody has questions, just drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer.
All righty. There is a link to Shadow Sentry in the description below, so click on over and do back this comic. It looks really good. Okay, Mr. Weathers, thank you so much for joining us. Nice to be here. Why don't you just tell us, give us a brief, tell us a little bit about who you are and what got you into making comic books.
Yeah, my name's Eric Weathers. I am a letterer, most known as a letterer. I've been working in comics doing lettering for about 3 years now. I got my first gig with John Malin on Graveyard Shift back in 2018, I think it was. And then very soon after that, I picked up Jawbreakers from your boy Zach and Richard C. Meyer. And it just sort of snowballed from there. I've worked on dozens of projects over these past 2 or 3 years and helped bring a lot of books up a level by making sure the lettering looks great, because good lettering can really help a book. Bad lettering can sink one. So I feel like I've helped a lot of books out over these past several years. Before that, I did my own stuff, just sort of self-published for a while on a series called Flying Fortress. That is a World War II book about a bomber crew. They go on a mission to take out Hitler's Eagle's Nest and end the war. And on the return home, they get shot down by an experimental enemy fighter, and they crash land in the Middle Ages. And they discover this evil Infinite Reich that is here to take over every dimension. And that's actually still currently running in demand on Indiegogo. And then what I'm working on, I worked on that for like 7 or 8 years, and we put it all together into one big book. And then I even very briefly had a small stint on an Alterna anthology. I believe it was their first anthology called If, and it was a sci-fi anthology. And I did a story with a friend named Chip Reese. It was sort of a time travel story where you could go back in time through your genes. It was really weird, but it was really fun to work on. Through not your genes that you wear, but the ones in your body, to be more clear. It was like through your memories and stuff. So that was a lot of fun to work on. And then, it sort of led me here to where I'm working on what I'm here to promote today, which is Battle Brick Road.
All righty. Let's want to talk for a few minutes about this Anita Sarkeesian Lego video. We'll get a few minutes into that, and then we'll get back to Battle Brick Road. You can tell us about that. Why am I doing this? Well, let's see here. A couple of weeks ago, Anita Sarkeesian, who in my opinion is something of a grifter, likes to make money by the way, I looked it up the other day. She already has a net worth of like $1 million. So I guess this consulting for various companies on how to be more feminist must be somewhat lucrative. But at any rate, she called for Lego in the wake of the George Floyd protest. She called for Lego to remove police themed sets. And I got to admit, I was kind of with her on this because I let my 4-year-old kid, I let him play with Legos. And every time, I swear to God, every time after he gets finished with playing some of the police figures, he looks at me and says, "Daddy, do you have a nightstick? Because I want to go out and club somebody. I mean, so these Lego, especially the police officer, real bad influence.
Very problematic.
Yeah, very much so. So at any rate, I started digging around, and it turns out about 2-3 years ago, she did 2 videos on Legos and their feminist problem. I did the first one with Stephen Koch a couple of weeks ago, and so I wanted to finish up. They're pretty good at standing alone. So let's see here very quickly. If let me and we'll get to this one and take a look at her arguments. And got to share the audio. All righty.
Each day is adventure, always something new.
You guys can hear it?
Yeah, a little bit.
In my last video, we visited the pastel-colored, gender-stereotype suburban wasteland that is the LEGO Friends theme. We also took a tour of LEGO's ridiculous and slightly hilarious attempts to market to girls in the past several decades. So if you haven't watched that one, go ahead and check it out before continuing on to this one. It's no secret that LEGO's Clubhouse is currently designed and marketed primarily for boys.
There are very few toy brands as ubiquitous as LEGO, and yet research shows LEGO only clicks with about half of all children. The male half.
Look at mine, Mommy!
Since 2005, LEGO has embraced that, marketing almost exclusively to little boys.
And it's been giving boys a boost in the world. LEGO Play has been attributed with accelerating boys' development. Research shows it helps fine-tune spatial and math skills.
How did the company shift from their initial, relatively gender-neutral universal building experience to a more male-dominated one? Well, it wasn't by accident. The LEGO Group intentionally did this in 3 ways. Number 1, marketing exclusively to boys. LEGO has been intentionally designing, creating, and marketing almost the entire LEGO universe specifically and exclusively to boys since at least the mid-1980s. First, let's take a quick look at the history of LEGO's marketing before this gendered shift occurred. LEGO can be traced back to the early 1930s, but started producing their interlocking plastic bricks in 1949.
Lego, a whole new world to build.
This young girl had such fun. She used Lego one by one with a knick-knack, paddywhack, built a house of grand. This young girl's a Lego fan.
LEGO focused on marketing their products with a strong emphasis on creative play, cooperation, and imagination for the next 3 decades, in a relatively universal way to children of all genders, even as something families can do together. By the mid-80s, however, girls had all but disappeared, and LEGO was marketing almost exclusively to boys. Some of you might remember Zach, the Lego maniac.
I know a boy, his name is Zach. His microchips are out of whack. He built a Blacktron Cadillac. He's Zach, the Lego maniac. He sent his cosmic fleet to Mars.
That kid is too cool for me.
I'm sorry?
So that kid is too cool for me.
Zach became the official LEGO mascot. He embodied the LEGO experience and helped to identify the brand with Boys Play. Boys continued to dominate LEGO's marketing for the next 2 decades.
Once upon a time, a boy discovered a magic castle. Inside was a bat lord and his knights, a witch, and the smell of rotting birds. It was time to go, and the boy tried to escape, but the witch insisted he stay for dinner. Lego Mania.
Yeah.
What's wrong with that thing? I think that'd be cool.
Yeah.
Gears that'll get you going.
Oh, man.
Motors that muscle. And blades that'll blow you away. Technically speaking, it'll turn you on.
In 2011, LEGO made sure to drive home the point that Legos are for boys with their Build Together marketing campaign.
The father and son road trip. Just a little imagination and
this
you're
has
good
to be a
go.
problem, right?
Yeah, it must be a problem.
That a man's home is
Can't
his
have a
castle,
dad and a son
and
play
truer
Legos
words were
together.
never spoken when that home is in the hands of this father and son team. Well done, gentlemen. Well done indeed.
Each ad revolves around fathers and sons collaborating on imaginative LEGO creations. You'll notice there are no grandmothers, mothers, daughters, or sisters building together. Number 2, producing male-identified and male-centered themes and sets. Over the next couple of decades, but especially in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Let's stop there for just a second here,
Sure.
because one of the things that I noticed, it's almost like she's already, undercut her own argument, because you notice that there were girls involved in the very early Lego commercials. And so I have to, you have to wonder, I mean, if girls were actually interested in Legos back then, why would then Lego turn around and start marketing exclusively to boys? I mean, if I'm running a company, and now granted, I've never run a company, so I don't know for certain, exactly here, but if I'm a toy company, I want both boys and girls to buy my toys, because that means more customers, as opposed to exclusively having boy customers or primarily boy customers, or vice versa. Okay. And I wonder, was Lego, it looks like they were initially trying to do that they wanted both boy and girl customers. My guess is that over time they just found that the initial early Legos, which were all just little blocks, most primarily, probably girls just weren't that interested in them.
That would be my guess. I would assume that, being a company that was made, they started out in 1930s. I doubt there was any market research or any ideas about targeting a boy toy or a girl toy. It was either like dolls or trucks. So I assume that every decision made by Lego was monetary. I mean, they are a business after all.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems to me that they were trying to get girls interested initially, and it didn't work, and so they decided that probably along the way said, okay, how can we maximize our customer base among boys? Let's focus our efforts there, because we're making so little money off of girls.
Or losing, maybe even.
Maybe even losing. I mean, but of course, Sarkeesian's going to assume that the patriarchists took over at Lego, and that's So at any rate, let's watch a little more of this, and then we'll get to your comic, Eric.
Sure.
Is this the right one? No.
Great pause right there too.
All righty.
Lego began creating and producing more sets that were intentionally male-identified and male-centered. To reinforce that Legos are specifically for boys, Lego made their products male-centered by populating their sets and themes with male minifigures. Male-centered means that the focus of attention is on men, their stories, and what they do. In terms of Lego, this refers to their shift from their original less gendered minifigures to sets and themes dominated by male characters, moving away from the 2 dots and a smiley face to frowns, sneers, and facial hair. On the rare occasion when women do appear, they're sporting bright red lipstick, curves, and cleavage. The lack of female minifigures in the Lego
I see lots of curves in those things.
Conservative estimates reveal that the ratio of unique male-identified minifigures to unique identified female minifigures is 18:1. The minifigure gender disparity only got worse when Lego started making sets based on movie franchises, such as Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Pirates of the Caribbean. Because those films are male-centered and male-identified, not surprisingly, the themes and sets based on them are also male-centered and male-identified. Out of the 250-plus unique minifigures in the Star Wars sets, for instance, you can count the number of women on your fingers. This positions boys and masculinity as the default for the Lego universe.
Who can help us? ADU is here! Step aside, ma'am. Let the ADU take over. Go get 'em, boys!
Number 3, focusing on stereotypical boys' play scenarios with an emphasis on combat. Remember that whole creativity and imagination thing?
You can build this transport pretending you're on Mars. The box shows ways to change it by snapping off the cars. You can snap them back together and get a scouting craft, or match them with the lasers for a base defender craft. You can make up something wild, supercharged and new. The sky's the limit when the team is Legoland and you.
That was back in 1985. Let's check in on what's happening in contemporary Lego themes.
Ready your weapons and get ready. You control the battle. Transform to attack mode. Prepare for battle. Arm the rockets. Arm the weapons. Load the missiles. You can load the bombs. Man the cannons. Load the rockets. Arm the missiles. Prepare the torpedoes. And fight back.
You know what's funny is, as a kid, all of that stuff sounds awesome. As a dad,
Yeah.
it just sounds like a big mess that we're gonna have to clean up later.
Yeah.
Well, Lego Group itself has
I'll just-
admitted that they have prioritized catering.
I'll just stop. I'm actually in the process of moving, and I've got a 4-year-old, and oh my God, toddlers collect so much crap.
Yeah, they do.
Oh my God, it's amazing the number of little teeny tiny Lego pieces that are going to get swept into the dustbin when I'm finished.
Boys. This has
I-
notably shifted their marketing and product
Just vacuum
design.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I stopped cleaning them up. I just vacuum them up now because I'm
There you
like,
go.
guys, clean them up. Some just get sucked up, man.
Be less about Lego's educational benefits, such as fostering creativity and imagination, to more about combat, aggression, conflict, and competition scenarios, which feel a lot more like.
Notice that creativity and competition and aggression, all of that those are somehow mutually exclusive here. You know,
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Have you ever watched like football, which is a pretty aggressive game, but they have to get, especially at the NFL level and the college level, they have to get awfully creative with the plays they come up with. You know,
I'm gonna guess she hasn't watched football.
Yeah, well,
Just a
I'm
guess.
also willing to bet she doesn't play with Legos very much either.
Well, it's true. There's not
All
enough.
right.
G.I. Joe
they're
than
too
they
curvy.
do the Lego of yesteryear.
There you
Even
go.
in the popular city theme, we've started to see these conflict elements take center stage.
Oh no, the
with the
police!
addition of the cops and robbers sub-theme over the last couple of years. It's not that women and girls aren't interested in combat-based play. Aggression and competition are, of course, possible human behaviors for people of all genders. In our current patriarchal society, however,
Actually, that's wrong. I mean, there's tons of research that show that little boys tend to be a bit more on the competitive side, and girls tend to be a little more on the cooperative side. Not
Yeah.
entirely, it's not an absolute, and there are variations within both groups. But you know, this notion that girls want to do the exact same things as boys, I mean, the evidence for that is, for the most part, not there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's. I think it was Lego that did a study that showed that boys become the characters that they play, and women try to make the characters become them, or boys and girls, I should say.
Fascinating.
So we're different, and that's good, and that's right. So let's let boys play with boys' toys and girls play with girl toys, and let the chips fall where they may.
There you go. All righty, let's go through one more minute of this, and then we'll get to your comic, Eric, and then we'll come back and finish this up.
All right.
however, traits associated with men and masculinity are more highly valued, even ones that aren't exactly the most socially beneficial.
Rebuild your spinner and win the fight.
But what about my sister? We're saving a girl? Is she hot?
Become the master of spinjitzu.
In this case, Lego has strongly emphasized combat and violent conflict in order to market to boys. This marketing choice has a further consequence of limiting boys because they miss out on toys that help develop cooperation, relationship building, nurturing, and caregiving. Now let's bring all of this back to the new Legos for girls.
Okay, I'm just gonna say, I mean, Sarkeesian, clearly, I've checked it out. She does not have any children. And if she had a son, I think she would probably know how difficult it is to force a child, boy or girl, into the particular gender role you want them to fit into. I hear my son in the back seat when he doesn't even have any toys going, pew, 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 pew. It isn't necessarily the toy that's breeding the aggression or the competitiveness. It's something far more innate. I remember the journalist John Stossel had daughters, and he did his best to try to introduce them to sports and balls when they were very little. And what happened? He'd give them a ball, and instead of playing with it in what you would think they would do with a ball, they would grab their little magic marker, and he said, draw little smiley faces on it.
Mhm.
I mean, they're just different.
Yeah. The problem is we
they're-
can see that it's different, and that's okay. And that's normal. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's almost as if we were designed to be to fill different roles.
Yeah. I mean, marketing, you're going to market stuff differently to boys and to girls. And at any rate, Mr. Ninaltowski, I think, wanted to say something.
Yeah, it's funny though. If you go back and watch her first video, she's saying how they didn't market to girls. They didn't market to girls, and then you get this, Lego Friends set. All this, in this video. Oh, they haven't marketed to girls. Well, they finally did the Legos Friends set, and in the first video, what did she say? It's not good enough.
Yeah.
So it's like, there's no pleasing them. They want to, just do away with the lines that define male and female. That's what they want to do. So,
yeah, the other big criticism, one of her big criticisms was that the figures they developed for girls were different than the little mini figures they developed for boys. And I'm just sitting there thinking to myself, well, I'm willing to bet that at this point, Lego had market tested this stuff pretty seriously. Yeah. And if they didn't do that, they had initially marketed the stuff for girls with the traditional Lego mini figures, and a lot of that stuff didn't sell very well. So, they decided to go with something else. And in fact, this Lego Friends now is one of their top 5 sellers. The line has been around for a decade, which is actually pretty rare for a line of Legos. I mean, most of their stuff doesn't last. Their lines, they discontinue them after, a few years. The exceptions are the things like the Star Wars line, which has been going on for decades. So, all righty. Eric, do you want me to bring up Battle Brick Road on my screen, or would you like me to share your screen and you can talk about it?
Feel free to. I'll let you take the wheel.
All righty. That is dangerous, but I appreciate your trust in me.
I trust you.
All righty. Okay. Here we go. Shall we? Do you want to start with the video, or what would you like to do here?
Yeah,
all right. Here we go.
Thea Gale has grown up in a world brought to its knees by drought and monstrous dust storms. Now, a message from her long-lost father will set her on a path through an exotic land. Along with her trusty sidekick Toto, she must befriend a ragtag group of outcasts to endure the many challenges along the way. Battle Brick Road Operation Zephyr is a 52-page graphic novel in the first volume in a 4-part series. From artificial intelligence to genetic manipulation, Battle Brick Road brings an original and multi-layered story to the familiar backdrop of Oz. Back it today and help bring to life this apocalyptically fresh take on the classic American fairy tale. Only on Indiegogo.
Very nice. All righty. Okay. So over $44,000. Very well done, sir.
Thank you.
All righty. Yeah. Tell us, tell us a little bit more about the plot, and then tell us a little bit about the main character.
So Battle Brick Road, in short, is Wizard of Oz with guns. We've taken this sort of dark sci-fi twist on the Wizard of Oz story. It was an idea that I brought to my friend Zeb Hatfield, who's writing it. He sort of took my plot idea and turned it into a full script. And we just sort of are somewhat kind of following the story of the Wonderful Wizard of Oz that you're familiar with the movie and the book, the original early 1900s novel.
Although I'll say those flying monkeys look a little more threatening.
Yeah, we amped it up. You might say that we targeted this to boys.
But you have a female lead as a character.
There you go. Hey,
although she's curvy. You're losing your Sarkeesian points.
I'm sorry. Well, she wasn't hired on to be a consultant for this particular book. So maybe for issue 2, we'll make some adjustments.
Not if you want to reach 44,000 again. You sure as hell don't.
Yeah, we're doing really well. It's exceeding expectations. But the story is sort of we followed Thea Gale is what we call her. We follow Thea Gale as she goes on this adventure, and she makes some new friends along the way. She has her trusty, deadly Toto companion. It was a robot created by her dad for protection when she was very little, and it's sort of he plays a dog role, a pet role, but he's more of a sidekick for her. And she meets along her journey. She meets up with an assassin sniper Scarecrow, and you're going to meet him in this book. This is book 1 of 4. We're going to have four total books. But later in the story, in book 2 and 3, actually just book 2, you're gonna meet the deadly Tin Man and the genetically modified super soldier Lion, and they are going to wreak havoc through the war-torn world of Oz on their quest to reach the Emerald City and take down the Watcher of the West.
Now, your main character's name again was it Thela? You said was it?
It's Thea, Thea. So it's just short for Dorothy. It's a shortened.
Okay, I see. Now, like, what is her kind of weakness? I mean, what is her flaw? I guess.
Sure. Well, she's young. She does have some military training, but she's not some super soldier that's going to come, kicking in doors and just blasting people. She's inexperienced in that sense. She was in the army, but not in an infantry role. So, if anybody that that's been in the military, you do learn weapons in basic, but if you're not in the infantry, it's not your day-to-day task. So she's basically her whole goal, her whole mission in life is to find her dad, who she lost, who was taken from her when she was very little. And knowing that she can't do this on her own, that's why she has to get these badass men to help her.
I see.
And Toto, who I guess is genderless. It is a robot, so
it's a robot dog though, kind of thing.
Well, he's an orb, so he doesn't even have any sort of feature that would confuse anybody.
So you can project your gender onto it. I mean,
there you go.
If you think your gender is a toaster, you can project that onto.
Yeah, I think Toto's closer to a toaster than he is to a boy or a girl.
Well, there you go.
Are there any like protruding barrels that might kind of tip people off to a male or female gender?
No, he's got. If you scroll down just
some well-placed holes too.
If you scroll down just a hair, you'll be able to see what he looks like on the next page. But he's just an orb of the size of a beach ball. He's got two wings or arms on the side that they do shoot energy blasts, but they are not. There's nothing protruding. No innies or outies.
Alrighty. Boy, that went off the rails quick. There's some nice art here.
Thank you.
Let's see. So, what is this here? Is this one of the Tin Man? Is this a Tin Man, or
no?
Tell us briefly what's going on here.
Yeah. So these pages here, drawn by me, they're currently being colored. So I'm really looking forward to finally getting some colored artwork up here. This is the opening. I guess you could say backstory of sort of how Dorothy or Thea loses her dad. So this is an opening chase scene, and they are escaping from somewhere, and they are being run down by these guards on sort of swoop bikes from like Star Wars, and they have taken out a few, and they've run out of their little sticky electromagnetic grenades, and now Toto has to step in and rescue the day. So he takes out the remaining ones as they make their way into a giant dust storm that's blowing in to try and find a way to escape.
Very nice. How far along are you with this? I mean, how far along are you to finishing the comic?
Well, the scripts are all the way done. Now everyone's just waiting on me now. I have 7-8 pages done. At a total of 52, and I'm on schedule to have everything finished before the end of the year on my end.
All right.
And then getting Farrah Normalisa to color everything. She's getting a head start right now on a few pages.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, we're cruising, and I know a good letterer, so we'll be able to take care of that as well. Yeah, things are moving right along.
Okay. I was going to ask, are you doing tight pencil straight to colors?
Yeah, very tight pencil straight to colors. It's a stylistic choice. It's not for any other reason like speed or anything like that. There are a few books that I really enjoy that have that look, and I've always wanted to try it out myself, and now we're going for it. We'll see how long it goes. I've got, basically the first chapter is all in the past. It's all in what you would consider the black and white part of the Wizard of Oz movie. So maybe on a stylistic basis, we could change it when we get to Oz. It could be inked, but I'm not sure yet. I really like the way that it looks without inks when you color over it. But we'll see. I've got time to consider that.
Would you consider having it black and white, and then when they get to Oz, doing color?
Oh, just having it, just the pencils when they're.
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought about that.
That was
I hadn't considered. I don't know. I mean, we sort of have it that way, kinda in a little ways, because the world that Dorothy knows is like Mad Max, so it's all yellow and dusty and sandstormy, like consistently. There's not a whole lot of color in her life, so there is going to be a change from the old world to Operation Zephyr, the Oz land, in that land is not covered in dust and sandstorms. It is vibrant and full of life and full of color. It may have fallen, but it's still a very colorful land to be in.
Yeah. Well, I know I can certainly see Mr. Ninaltowski's point on that. I just have to say I love the coloring in this so far, especially on the cover where you're going from the very kind of bright light yellow to the wing is now more in between orange to the very dark color of the body. I mean, that's a really nice shift there. If you from lighter to darker, the further in you get. So I really want to see the whole thing colored.
Yeah, it will be for sure.
So all righty. Okay. Anything else on that before we go back to the finish up the Sarkeesian video?
I mean, we've got a week left. We're in the final stretch. This is the last of the full 60-day run. So
Will you be going in?
Yeah, please do.
Will you be going in demand?
That's the plan.
Okay, alrighty. Well, yeah, there is a link to Battle Brick Road as well in the description below. So if you haven't backed this, you're going to want to. So get on over there and part with some of your hard-earned money, which I know is always hard, but I think in this case it will be more than worth it. So, alrighty, let's just finish up this Sarkeesian. I don't know what you want to call it. Argument. That might be too generous.
I think that's a bit generous.
Okay. Alrighty. Let's finish this up here. Okay.
Our concept of marketing in the Friends theme is deeply problematic. It's not
deeply
without some
problematic.
The emphasis on sharing, cooperation, and nurturing are values I would love to see infused in toys for children of all genders. Even the title of Friends draws attention to the importance of relationship building. However, these values are almost exclusively found in media and toys for girls and are wrapped up in harmful gender stereotypes. Meanwhile, these positive values are entirely absent in toys aimed at boys. The repercussions of this can be grave, relegating the responsibility for fostering healthy relationships and communications on women, and simultaneously reinforcing to boys and men that using violence is a practical option for solving conflicts, even interpersonal ones. Lego had doubled down on gendering all their products as for boys.
I love that. I mean, that's almost subtle there. What she's saying is the way Lego markets it, you're going to grow up and beat your wife.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus God.
To a corner where they were forced to create a distinct and separate For Girls collection. Lego Friends is clearly marked as not for boys, which de facto reinforces that the rest of the Lego universe is for boys and for boys alone. If we look at the language in the advertising for the sets marketed to boys, they are encouraged to actively participate in the building as a core part of the story.
You can build the huge helicopter. You can build the massive clone turbo tank. You can build the Batmobile. You can build the dino truck. You can build the rocket.
You can build the King's Castle.
But in the Lego Friends marketing, the construction is not central to the narrative being sold.
Drive by Olivia's house, past the vet with all the pets, to the newly built cafe. We're here. Let's all help out. Make burgers, shakes, bake the cupcakes.
See how things have been built, but the action is not attributed to anyone? The minifigs just show up at the newly built cafe. And the playtime is supposed to happen after the building.
Now, Eric, does that get to your point about what you said about boys want to become the characters and girls want the characters to become them? I think that's how you put it.
Yeah, it was a study that Lego did themselves, and I think what we're seeing here is, first of all, I don't fully understand her argument. Is she going to suggest that Barbie needs to make more male-centric dolls? I mean,
no, I know where she's going. I mean, I've watched it. I know where she's about to go with the argument, and in fact, she's going to end up shooting herself in the foot here pretty badly. But no, I was curious if this, the way they've kind of marketed it here, build for the boys and the girls. It seemed to get back to your earlier point.
The way I see it is, I'm sure that they just through their research found that girls don't really need to care about the building aspect of it, and they just want to have cute things to do cute things with, because that's kind of how girl toys have always been since dolls were invented. I have 2 boys, but I have a lot of nieces, and they want to play doll, and they want to have a little baby that they take care of, and boys want to build things, and it's just how we grow up into adulthood too. The construction industry is most predominantly, I'm going to guess, over 90% male.
Oh yeah, and look at primary education; it's 80% female.
There you go.
I mean,
I don't know.
So, it's just we sort ourselves based on our gender, and we sort ourselves, I think for the most part voluntarily. I mean, not always, obviously, but at any rate, let's finish this.
Unlike in the other commercials where boys are encouraged to actively build and construct as a part of their Lego experience. Now, to the credit of girls and women, many of us have stubbornly continued to like the classic sets, despite Lego's best efforts to ignore us and kick us out of the Lego clubhouse. So Lego spent 4 years and millions of dollars to research the desires of girls.
Just real quick, I mean, Lego kicking you out of the clubhouse. Give me a break. You don't think Lego would love to have loads of girls purchasing the sets that are being marketed for boys? Come on. I mean, it's about, for a company like Lego, it's going to be about the bottom line. All right.
Girls to create another Barbie wasteland, and continues to ignore the fact that they already have a potentially great product for girls. It's called Lego, or it used to be. Lego's logic surrounding giving girls what they want sounds an awful lot like self-fulfilling marketing. As Lisa Wade pointed out on the Ms. blog, executives are going to great lengths to explain that the line is based on research. This frame gives the company an excuse for reproducing the same old gender stereotypes that we see throughout our culture. In this way, they're trying to make it clear that they shouldn't be held accountable for the messages their products send. The real takeaway from Lego's research is that the literally billions of dollars that the media and toy companies spent over the last couple of decades on aggressively gendered marketing and gender stereotyping has worked. We see fewer commercials with boys and girls playing together, and more products that segregate boys and girls into different categories of people, each with very rigid and limiting ideas of what roles are appropriate. All this marketing is inescapable, and young people and adults alike internalize these deeply harmful and limiting messages. Although we don't want to believe it, the truth of it is that advertising works to manipulate us, and it works really well, or else corporations wouldn't do it.
Okay, hang on. I got to stop here real quick. I got another quick video that I just want to show real quick to address this point here. Very quick. I don't know. I just turned 50, so I'm old enough to remember this. I don't know if either of you gentlemen are, but let's give this a quick look.
I'd like to teach the world to sing in perfect harmony. I'd like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company. I'd like to teach the world in perfect harmony.
Okay, that's enough of that. But some of you probably remember this new Coke that Coke tried in the mid-'80s. It was a total disaster for them. Now, I'm sure Coke would have loved, and I think that's a pretty good soft sell approach. Coke would have loved for their manipulative advertising to, convince customers that this new Coke is better than the old Coke. But for the most part, customers weren't having it.
Right.
This notion that advertising is, we're just these little puppets on a string that advertisers can manipulate. I think, is one, it's garbage. And two, I mean, she's kind of shooting herself in the foot. I mean, why was all the Lego advertising that they used to do back in the 50s and 60s that had both boys and girls playing with your standard Lego blocks not manipulate girls into playing with Legos? I mean,
I don't know. Like I don't know. I don't even know where to go.
It's totally inconsistent here. I mean, why couldn't they get girls to play with Legos? And, probably because Legos are building things, and, most young girls, not all of them, but, a lot of them, that's just not what they're into, Right.
She talks about like 4 or 5 different sets that were geared toward girls in the first video. And so they didn't do that well in sales. And so what do they got to do? They got to try something new. So they did all this marketing, spent all this money, and they came up with Lego Friends. And I think it's a great approach because it revolves around relationships, which is what girls love. They go to the bathroom in groups. It's like
you guys. A guy stands up and tells his guy friends, "Hey, you want to go to the bathroom?" It's like, you better go by yourself, bud.
Yeah. So she said like we're gonna point to the research and blah blah blah, but it has nothing to do with that. It's like it has everything to do with the research.
Yeah, I mean, if those early girls' toys, the earlier ones that didn't sell very well, again, why was Lego not able to manipulate? You think that of all the people you could manipulate, children would be much easier to manipulate than adults. And so, again, why were they not able to get girls to buy those earlier Lego products? Not the ones from the 50s and 60s, but the early test things that they were doing, things they were doing 10, 15 years ago before they finally hit on the Friends thing. Again, it's the evidence that I think that companies are able to so easily manipulate us with their marketing is, I think that's tenuous at best. But
it's an art form.
Yeah. All righty. Let's.
I'm just gonna say real quick. I have. I have 2 boys and I have a girl, and my boys play with Legos 50% more than my daughter does. And I just think that's just what they like to do. But my daughter, it's like, she'll do it if they're doing it, but it's like she'd much rather play with her Barbies, her Calico Critters. So maybe it's just a thing where that girls don't love it as much as boys do.
Yeah. And the other thing I noticed is that when my son was like 2, maybe 2.5, we were at this place called the Wiggle Room, which is kind of like a little play daycare place, except the parent has to be there. And there were a number of times he was picking up dolls and playing with them for a while. So he was kind of trying them out a little bit. And it's just not something now he won't, that stuff is for girls. He says it all the time, for girls. We go to McDonald's to get a Happy Meal. Make sure I get a boy toy. He will say that, he just, he tried out girl toys, not for him. And I suspect, a lot of boys have that experience. I think a lot of girls probably try the boy toys, and, it's not for them either. This, notion that, go ahead.
What I'm noticing from Anita, and it's not just this video, it's her whole thing, is she's trying to force the square peg into the round hole. She's like, she says girls should be playing with Legos. Well, maybe they just don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay that they don't want to. Stop trying to force this thing to happen.
Yeah. I also think she wants to get some, nice 6-figure consulting checks from Lego too.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
And she could do wonders for them like she did for the gaming industry. So, all righty, let's try and finish this up here.
What Lego should have done if they were serious about expanding the Lego universe to include girls is to actually include them in a meaningful way, not segregate and separate them into their own pink enclave. In the future, here are 2 suggestions that Lego can use as a starting point to think about producing and marketing new products. First, they've got to integrate more female minifig characters into their themes and make them the focus of those sets. Then they've got to completely drop this lady fig doll thing from the entire Lego universe. Secondly, Lego needs to go back to the drawing board and create products that foster creativity and imagination that children of all genders will adore. They can start by de-emphasizing the macho testosterone and the combat and create universally appealing sets that include occupations and adventure scenarios for children of all genders. Lego can look to their own specialized creator collection, which includes sets that are more reminiscent of the original Lego building experience. These sets even come with 3 different instruction guides, which help to encourage builders to think about the bricks as remixable elements to be taken apart, hacked, and rebuilt again in different ways. Unfortunately, the creator line is not prioritized within the Lego universe. This ad campaign from the early 1980s has been passed around online quite a bit, not only because it strongly emphasized the confidence-building benefits of creative play, but it did so without exploiting gender stereotypes. And remarkably, it didn't prioritize boys over girls.
But again, why didn't why didn't girls jump on these Legos? I mean, if this advertising is so effectively manipulative.
It features a young girl
we almost
proudly
done with
displaying
this.
her
God.
new Lego creation with the text, "What it is beautiful." And in fact, it is beautiful to feature a young girl who is unconstrained by regressive notions of gender. In addition to being critical of gender stereotyping, we ought to be consciously critical of the values being promoted in children's toys. Now let's be honest, toys that promote sharing and cooperation, creativity, and imagination are probably a better educational experience for raising healthy, well-developed kids than a constant focus on blowing stuff up and shooting people.
No, at least that's, I think, actually damaging if you were to apply that to boys, because boys are naturally aggressive, and they need to have some outlet for that aggression. All right. And you know, that it's channeled in some way. So if my kid wants to, you know, I don't have it, you know, but he has all those little Nerf guns right now that shoot those little Nerf darts. Okay. I want him to get out some of that aggression. Okay. You know, playing with those guns, it's a fun game. It gets out some of the aggression. It teaches him how to channel his aggression in more productive ways. What she is promoting here may be fine for girls, but I actually think it could actually be quite damaging for boys.
Yeah, it reminds me of having a co-ed gym class in middle school. And all of the guys, when it was any sport where you were throwing a ball at somebody else, all of the guys would be rocketing these things as hard as they could into somebody's face. And all the girls would just sit in a circle and talk and really not participate unless they were forced to. Like,
I wonder if go ahead.
It's just men and women are different.
There you go.
And it's meant to be that way, and it's okay.
Yeah.
All righty. I've actually got my hi Charlie. How are you? I'm doing the show with not Jeremy today, but you know, doing the show online. So actually, I think that's a good place to end the show because. Oh, okay. Well, because I'm sick of watching this, and and frankly, I'll end with this. If you're the head of the Lego company and you want to know a good strategy for your company, listen to the last 3 minutes that we just watched and do the opposite. I will guarantee it will keep your company in the black. Okay, both Erics, thank you so much for joining us. I hope to have you back soon. Battle Brick Road and Shadow Sentry, there are links to them in the description below, and you know, do get those as soon as you can. All righty, everyone. Thank you very much, and have a good evening.
Thanks for having us on.